Welcome to the Black Appalachian Coalition's podcast entitled Black Remembering, where we will bring to you the heavy and the hope across the Ohio River Valley. We want to remember who we are, where we've come from. We want to speak to the oral history of what we've done, what we've achieved. We want to speak to the ills that we have experienced while also finding solutions to those problems, those issues. We want to deal with the narrative that has kept us deeply rooted in despair. Now we want to punch through that narrative and stand up and say, we are remembering our Black past, and we are rooted, and we are here to stay. Welcome to Black Remembering. We hope that you find your place, your space, and your voice in this podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Black Remembering podcast, where we highlight the heavy and the hope. This season, we're wishing you all a very happy Juneteenth all month long. Plus, during this episode of our BLAC Jubilee series in honor of Juneteenth and the ongoing struggle to enjoy full freedom, we highlight what Black community leaders are doing to liberate Black Appalachian communities. Today's conversation is about the intersection of queer liberation and Juneteenth. On June 28th, 1969, hundreds of LGBTQ people of color, especially Black and brown transgender women, led a major action against the NYPD in Greenwich Village at the Stonewall Inn. In many ways, Stonewall is an invitation to reflect on the struggles and triumphs of LGBTQ people, especially those with multiple marginalized identities. Juneteenth and Pride Month celebrations both honor marginalized communities, resistance, and highlight the United States history of perpetuating racism, transphobia, and queerphobia. To reflect on how far we've come and the work we still have to do, we have a special guest today with us, Jazmyne Baylor, an academic librarian in Western North Carolina. How are you doing today, Jazmyne?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Marie?
I'm a little bit tired, but I'm tired because I've been having a good time.
I respect that.
All right. Well, so I've already shared some definitions for Juneteenth and Pride Month to give us some background. But now we want to focus on sharing a little bit more of what you would like to contribute and some of your own observations. So first of all, what do each of these celebrations mean to you, Jazmyne?
For me, both Juneteenth and Pride Month mean resiliency. It means community, love, history, activism. I don't think I would be here today if it was not for any of those things and my ancestors and the activists who've done the work for me to be proud of who I am today. So both Juneteenth and Pride are both huge to me historically and culturally.
That's wonderful. It's a great thing also to reflect on, how others have contributed and given you a perspective. So who and what have actually helped to shape your answers to those two questions for those two celebrations?
Yeah, my ancestors, for one, I'm 5 to 6 generations removed from slavery. That's not that far off. The queer and trans activists who have fought and are continuously fighting to safely exist within this country, within the world. Those two are the biggest for me. Just my family and the community that I am a part of. We are resilient, and I tend to reflect on the work that's being done historically and continuously to fight for our rights, whether it's Black rights or the LGBTQ plus rights. So whenever I am thinking of or celebrating Juneteenth and Pride, those are the people that I tend to kind of, I guess, reflect or search for their spirit to guide me during those celebrations.
So how do you celebrate?
Tend to celebrate Juneteenth, both Juneteenth and Pride Month, by being in community. think community is big for both the Black community and LGBTQ plus, because it provides us with reassurance. It provides us with healing, love, support, all of the things we need. I think that we are all communal people, and community is essential to survival. So leaning into community is extremely important for me during this month, during the month of June, because if it wasn't for a community, I don't think a lot of the achievements and things that we're celebrating would even come into fruition, because it took community to make it happen.
Well, it just turns out that an event called Juneteenth and Pride in downtown Sylva, North Carolina, prompted this conversation. It took place on June 19th at Bridge Park. It's the first of its kind, as we know, possibly in Western North Carolina. And it was organized and co-hosted by a friend of ours, former Town of Sylva Commissioner Natalie Newman, and Cornbread and Roses Community Counseling Center. That center's mission is to promote inclusive, vital community services throughout Western North Carolina by focusing on service gaps that are experienced by marginalized communities, particularly LGBTQ plus communities. So one of the things I wanted to ask real quickly before I move on is, you know, just your reflection of what it's like to address these issues in rural North Carolina, in Western North Carolina. What
Mhm.
information do you think is missing, or what are the commonly held misconceptions for individuals who probably might not embrace these celebrations?
Right. I think the biggest thing that tends to be missing is the history. History is that's the reason why we're celebrating it. So, without a true understanding and acknowledgement of the history of Juneteenth and Pride, actions and celebrations sometimes tend to be performative. So, yes, I encourage people to celebrate, but also reflect on the history of the Black community in Appalachia and within this country, and tie that into current issues. Like, ask yourself, why is the Black population overrepresented in poverty? Systemic racism. Then let's start having conversations about systemic racism, what that is and how that impacts our society. And even with pride, many of these celebrations tend to fail to mention that Black and brown, queer and trans activists led it. And the original Pride, the first Pride, was a protest against police brutality. These things are rarely mentioned during these celebrations, but it's a huge part of the history. So when we are having these celebrations, I think setting aside time to educate the folks is extremely important. And for those who tend to resist the celebrating of these of Juneteenth or Pride, I encourage them to educate themselves and ask themselves why they are resisting, to understand and celebrate the underrepresented communities here in Appalachia, because that may stem from ignorance and other things that I won't mention at this moment. But yeah.
Well, the final thing that I'm going to state, which is a unique perspective you have, is being a research librarian and an academic research librarian, um, because that's where the information comes to the people. I think one of the things that, I think about is that in a culture where we rely on Google, that also spreads a lot of misinformation. So, would you like to share a particular perspective about yourself and, what brought you to Western North Carolina and the role that you play as a part of a change maker, and a radical scholar, to address these issues?
I came to Western North Carolina because of a job, working in a a research library, but I went to Western Carolina University as an undergrad a long time ago, so I'm very familiar with this area of Western North Carolina. So coming back here has been a great opportunity for me to connect with the community, because when I was a student, I was very much on campus and didn't realize the history of Appalachia and Black Appalachia at that. So being here as an adult in their 30s, I'm able to interact with community members, learn their stories, and learn the history here. And I think that's really critical, especially with the work that I do as a research librarian, so that when people have questions, I'm able to guide them to the accurate information. So I'm not from this area, but I've been here for a few years and I have history here. So I'm personally still learning the history myself and still trying to find ways where I'm able to share the story. I'm currently doing research on the libraries within this space and what did Black reading spaces look like for the Black community here. So I am continuously learning as well. But as I learn, I'm hoping to share this information and provide people with accurate resources so that they're able to learn the information and the history of this area as well.
And finally, what's giving you joy these days? What are you listening to or reading that's giving you joy and inspiring you?
The Sacred Souls. I'm listening to them. I love their sound. It's like old school Motown, and it's so beautiful to me. So I'm currently listening to a lot of that, and a lot of the reading that I'm doing is very academic. So I can't necessarily say it gives me joy, but it is educating me. And from what I'm taking from my readings, I'm hoping to implement it in my job and my scholarship, and pass it on to the students and the community members. But yeah, the Sacred Souls, if you have never listened to them, I highly recommend them. They're amazing.
All right. And we were also talking about going for a walk, in the area. And I recommended Water Rock Knob and the views.
Yes, no, I'm really excited about that. That's one of the things that when I moved back up here, really excited about getting into hiking. I finally bought my hiking boots. It's just making time to actually do it.
Well, thank you so much. We've got the last few days of Juneteenth, but I keep saying Juneteenth and beyond.